The plate flew straight into my forehead with a force I never thought my own son could unleash. White porcelain shards scattered across my dark dress as the chocolate frosting from the cake slid down my wrinkled cheek. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. More than 200 guests, family, friends, everyone stared at me in a mix of shock and shame. I, Heather Rivas, 70 years old, had just been humiliated by my own son, Samuel, on the most important day of my granddaughter Tatiana's life. But let me tell you how I ended up in that moment of pain. It all began 3 months earlier, when Samuel showed up at my front door with that smile. I knew too well the kind that only appeared when he wanted something. It was a Saturday morning, and I was watering the rose bushes in the garden, the ones my late husband Mark had planted 15 years ago. The scent of roses blended with the faint smell of cold coffee on the porch table, creating the kind of peaceful morning I cherished at my age. "Mom, I need to talk to you," Samuel said without even a hello. His voice carried that fake seriousness he often used when talking about his insurance business. His wife, Olivia, stood behind him, arms crossed, avoiding my eyes as usual. "All right," I said. "Do you want some coffee?" "No, Mom, this is serious." I set down the hose and invited them to sit on the wrought iron chairs Mark had picked for the porch. The morning sun stretched long shadows across the red brick floor, and I felt a chill deep inside, knowing something was about to change forever. "It's about Tatiana," Samuel began, straightening his tie as if he were at an important meeting. "You know she's marrying Tyler next month, right?" Of course I knew. My granddaughter, 22 years old, had been planning her wedding all year, and I had promised to help with some of the expenses. It was the least I could do, for the only grandchild who still visited often hugged me tightly and called me Grandma in that sweet voice that reminded me of her grandfather. "Yes, I'm very happy for her," I replied, trying to keep my tone light despite the tension thickening in the air. Samuel exchanged a glance with Olivia before continuing. "Mom, Tatiana and Tyler need a place to live. You know how bad the housing market is right now. Rent prices are insane, and buying a house is almost impossible for young couples." I nodded, already sensing where this was headed. "So what do you want me to do?" "Mom, you've been living alone in this house since Dad died. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a huge garden. It's too much space for one person." His tone was cold, almost cutting. "This house wasn't just a roof over my head, it was where I raised my son, where Mark took his last breath, where every corner held a memory from an entire lifetime." The yellow dining room walls still bore the pencil marks tracking Samuel's height as a boy. The kitchen still carried the faint smell of waffles Mark loved every Sunday. The master bedroom still looked exactly as he'd left it because I never had the heart to change a thing. "Samuel, this is my home," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I know, Mom, but think about it. Tatiana's your favorite granddaughter. This would be the perfect way to show her how much you love her." Olivia chimed in then, her nasal tone sharp. "Heather, we're not trying to kick you out, but you could move into a smaller apartment, something easier to manage. At your age, it would be better." "Better for my age?" I repeated, the anger rising in my chest. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean the stairs, the garden, all the upkeep. It's not safe for someone your age." "We're only thinking of you," Samuel said, with that patronizing patience he used like a weapon. "And think about it, Mom. If you give the house to Tatiana, you'd be securing her future. This place is worth at least $400,000. It would be the best wedding gift a grandmother could give." I said nothing, watching the roses sway in the soft breeze. Mark used to say roses need time to bloom, you can't force them. And right then, I felt like someone was trying to rip up every root of beauty I had nurtured in my life. "No," I said finally, my tone steadier than I expected. "This is my home, and I'm staying here." The change on Samuel's face was immediate. The mask of concern fell away, revealing something darker beneath. "Mom, don't be selfish. Tatiana needs your help. If she needs help, I can help in other ways, contributing to the wedding, helping with a down payment, but I'm not giving away this house." "Giving away?" he snapped. "You think your granddaughter doesn't deserve it?" "That's not what I said, Samuel. This is my home, my space, and I'm not ready to leave." Olivia shot to her feet. "Heather, you don't understand. This house is too big for you. Sooner or later you'll need care, and it'll be easier if you live somewhere smaller." "Care?" I repeated, bitterness rising in my throat. "Who said I need care?" "Mom, you're 70, Samuel said, feigning patience. "It's only a matter of time." Something inside me cracked then. Not just from the pressure, but from the way they spoke to me. As if I'd lost the right to make my own choices, as if my life no longer belonged to me. I saw Samuel's eyes drift around the house, as if calculating its worth, deciding how to divide it. "Get out," I said, standing with every ounce of dignity I had left. "Mom, don't be dramatic. We're only trying to help." "Help?" I laughed, the sound dry and hollow. "Help who, Samuel? Tatiana or yourself?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means this conversation is over. I'll help Tatiana, but not the way you want." That day, Samuel and Olivia left without Properus, another word, leaving me alone on the porch with my cold coffee and a sinking feeling that this wasn't the end. The following days passed in uneasy calm. I knew Samuel wasn't one to give up easily, but I never expected his next move to bring Tatiana herself to my doorstep. That afternoon, I heard her voice calling from the front door. "Grandma, are you home?" My heart lifted, as it always did. Tatiana had a way of filling a room with light. When I opened the door, her bright smile and clear blue eyes greeted me, eyes that reminded me so much of Mark's when he was young. "Tatiana, my beautiful girl," I said, pulling her into a hug. "How's the wedding planning going?" "It's good, Grandma, but I came to talk about something important." I led her into the living room where we used to play chess when she was little. The set was still there, the pieces waiting for another game. The sunset filtered through the lace curtains I'd sewn myself, casting a golden hue across the velvet armchair. "Grandma," she began carefully, "Dad told me about the conversation you two had." Right away, I sensed something different. She avoided my gaze, fidgeting with her hands, her words rehearsed. "What exactly did your dad say?" "That you refused to help us find a place to live." "Tatiana, sweetheart, your father didn't just ask for help, he asked me to give you this house." Her eyes widened. "Dad told you to give me this house?" "Yes, honey. He said it's too big for me, so I should give it to you as a wedding gift." Tatiana hesitated, then said softly, "Maybe that's not such a bad idea. Tyler and I really need a place to live, and you might be more comfortable in a smaller apartment." Her words hit harder than I expected. If Samuel had said them, I could have braced myself. But hearing them from my granddaughter, the one who used to bake cookies in this very kitchen, felt like the ground gave way beneath me. "Do you really believe that, Tatiana?" "Yes, Grandma. Besides, we'd be closer to you and could take care of you." "Take care of me?" "Not old, just old enough to not know what's good for me?" I interrupted. "No, Grandma, that's not what I meant. It's just, this house holds so many sad memories. Maybe it's time for a new beginning." "Sad memories," I repeated, my voice rising. Tatiana, you were born here. I taught you to walk in this house. We celebrated your birthdays right here. I know, Grandma, but Grandpa's gone, and you're here all alone. Maybe living somewhere new would make you happier. That was when I realized these words weren't truly hers. They flowed too smoothly, too practiced, just like Samuel's. Someone had coached her. Tatiana, who told you to talk to me about this? No one, Grandma. I came on my own. And who told you exactly what to say? I pressed. No one, Grandma. These are my own thoughts. But I knew her too well. I had spent countless afternoons with her talking, playing, teaching her what 70 years of life had taught me. I knew her expressions, her tone, her pauses. And this wasn't the real Tatiana. I gently held her hands. Be honest with me, sweetheart. Did your father ask you to come? For a second, her mask cracked. I saw the girl I used to hold in my arms, her eyes brimming with tears. I thought she might confess, but then she caught herself, forcing composure. Grandma, I just want you to be happy. I think you'd be better off in a smaller place, where you don't have to worry about so much. And you'd be happier living in my house, right? Yes, she whispered, but her voice was hollow, uncertain. Tatiana, tell me honestly, I said softly. Do you truly want to live in this house, the one where your grandfather passed away, or is this your father's idea? It's mine, she said, though her voice trembled. Sweetheart, you and I have always been honest with each other. Don't start lying now. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Grandma, I don't want to hurt you, but Dad said if you gave us the house, we could take better care of you. He said it would be best for everyone. And what do you think, Tatiana? Not your dad, not your mom. What do you think? I don't know, Grandma. It's confusing. Dad says you're being selfish, but I don't think you are. Selfish? I echoed, my heart tightening. Your father said that at my age, I should think of the family's future instead of clinging to material things. Material things? The phrase stung like a slap. Tatiana, this isn't just property. This is home. This is where your grandfather and I built our lives. It's where you grew up. I know, Grandma. But Dad says memories live in the heart, not on walls. Your dad says a lot, sweetheart. But I want to know what your heart says. Tatiana was silent for a long time. I saw the struggle in her eyes. Finally, she whispered, My heart says I don't want you to be alone. Your dad also said if you moved into an apartment near us, we could visit you more often. And do you think maybe I don't want to be visited more often if it means losing my home? Grandma, please don't say that. It's the truth, Tatiana. If you love me, you'll love me right here, in this house. And if you don't, then it doesn't matter where I live. That's not true, Grandma. I stood, walking toward the window overlooking the garden. Tell me, when was the last time your father visited me just to spend time with me, not to ask for money or favors? Tatiana said nothing, because we both knew the answer. Samuel only came around when he wanted something. Grandma, please think about it again. You could live somewhere more comfortable and safe, and we'd finally have a home to start our life together. And if I say no, then I guess we'll have to find another way. What kind of way? I don't know, Grandma. But Dad says in a family, everyone helps each other. And when someone refuses, sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Hard decisions? I repeated, locking eyes with her. What does that mean? I don't know, she said again, but her voice told me otherwise. Tatiana left that afternoon, leaving me with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. This pressure wasn't just coming from Samuel. Something bigger was at play, and my granddaughter was only a piece of it. That night, I sat in my favorite armchair, staring at the family photos on the mantel, and made my decision. I wouldn't give them this house, but I also wouldn't sit back and wait to find out what their hard decisions meant. It was time for me to remember how to protect myself. The changes began subtly, almost unnoticeable at first. I thought they were coincidences until I realized I was being slowly pushed out of my own home. A week after the conversation with Tatiana, Samuel came over on another Saturday morning, forcing a smile and holding a key in his hand. "Mom, Olivia and I think it'd be best if we had a copy of your house key. You know, in case of an emergency." "What kind of emergency?" I asked, suspicion rising. "Mom, at your age, anything could happen, a fall, a health scare, anything. It'd be irresponsible of us not to have access in case we need to check on you." "Samuel, I'm 70, not 90. I'm fine." "I know, Mom, but it's better to be safe. And if you decide to move into that apartment later, someone can help you pack. I already told you I'm not moving anywhere." "Okay, but still, we're family. Having a key is perfectly normal." I handed him the key, ignoring the uneasy feeling twisting in my stomach. That was my first mistake, the beginning of the worst days I had lived through in years. The next morning, when I came back from my walk, I found the living room in disarray. The sofa had been moved, the coffee table was out of place, and the antique floor lamp Mark had bought years ago was gone. "What on earth?" I muttered, and called Samuel immediately. "Did you come into my house today?" "Yes, Mom," he said casually. "Olivia and I just stopped by to tidy up a bit." "Tidy up?" "No offense, Mom, but sometimes at your age, people miss the little corners that need cleaning. There was some dust in places you probably can't reach. I just rearranged things to make it neater." "Rearranged?" I said, my tone turning cold. "Who gave you the right to do that?" "No one, Mom. We were only trying to help." Help. I was beginning to hate that word. "Next time, ask me before you walk into my home." "Of course, Mom. I didn't think you'd mind." But they kept coming anyway. Every few days, I noticed signs someone had been there. The book I'd left on the table ended up back on the shelf. The curtains were open when I was sure I had closed them. The dishes in the kitchen were rearranged. Whenever I asked, Samuel always had an excuse that sounded reasonable. "Mom, we were just checking on you." "You didn't answer your phone, so we got worried." "I answer when I can, Samuel. Sometimes I'm in the garden, sometimes in the bathroom. That doesn't mean I need to be checked on like a child." "Don't exaggerate, Mom, we're just worried about you." But that worry quickly crossed the line. One afternoon, I came home from the grocery store to find Olivia in my kitchen, rearranging my cupboards. "Hi, Mom," she said, as if nothing was wrong. "I was waiting for you. We need to talk about your diet." "My diet?" "Yes, I looked in your fridge and pantry. There's way too much that's not good for someone your age. Too much salt, too much fat, too many processed foods. You need to eat healthier." "Olivia, I've eaten this way for 70 years and I'm fine. But at your age, you have to be careful. I brought you some better options." I saw grocery bags lined up on the counter. My regular coffee was gone, replaced with decaf. The butter had been swapped for low-fat margarine. My soft white bread was replaced with whole grain that tasted like cardboard. "Olivia, I appreciate the thought, but I don't need anyone changing my meals. I know change is hard, Heather, but this is for your own good. And if you're moving into the apartment soon, it'll be better to get used to a simpler lifestyle." "Who said I'm moving?" "Well, isn't that going to happen sooner or later? You'll need an easier place to live eventually." Day by day, the pressure grew heavier. Samuel started showing up unannounced, always with the same excuse, just dropping by to see how you're doing. But I knew this was only the beginning. "I had to pick something up near here," he'd say. "Olivia was worried when you didn't answer your phone this morning. What bothered me most was how they'd started talking about my house as if it already belonged to them. When Tatiana moves in, we should build a new fence for the garden," Samuel said. "This bathroom needs remodeling, but we can handle that once you've moved out. And the kitchen's outdated, but Tatiana has great ideas for a makeover." One day, I caught Samuel in the attic, going through the boxes Mark and I had kept for decades. "What are you doing up here?" I asked, feeling deeply violated. "Mom, there's a lot of clutter up here. When you move, you won't be able to take it all. I'm just checking what's worth keeping and what should go." "Clutter?" The word caught in my throat. "Samuel, these things belong to me, to your father and me. There are memories." "I know it's hard, Mom, but you have to be realistic. You can't take decades of stuff to a small apartment." I picked up one of the boxes he was sorting through. Inside were the letters Mark wrote to me when we were dating, old trip photos, and little gifts we'd exchanged through our marriage. "Is this what you call clutter?" "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way." "But you have to admit, you haven't touched some of these things in years, so they've lost importance." "Maybe," I said quietly, "but that doesn't mean they've lost meaning. Still, you can't bring all of this to the new apartment." "I'm not moving anywhere." "Mom, please be realistic. You can't live here forever." "Why not?" Samuel hesitated, then muttered, "Because it's not practical." That night, after he left, I sat in my old armchair and looked around the house. The place that once felt peaceful was turning into a prison. Each day brought another change, another suggestion, another improvement no one had asked for. What hurt the most wasn't the things themselves, it was the way Samuel spoke about them, as if everything that had built my life was just junk to be cleared away. The lamp Mark had bought at a yard sale and fixed with his own hands, the teapot we'd bought on our honeymoon, the family photos that captured a lifetime of love. All of it was being diminished, one piece at a time, and I was being treated like another object to be handled gently but firmly until I surrendered. That night I cried. Not for Mark, though I missed him deeply, but for myself, for the slow erosion of my dignity, for being seen as a burden instead of someone worthy of love. I looked up at the photos on the mantel, especially the one of Mark and me dancing at Samuel's wedding. We were young then, full of hope. Neither of us could have imagined that one day that same sun would try to force me out of the home we built together. "Mark," I whispered into the silence, "what am I supposed to do?" But only silence answered, no longer comforting, now terrifying. The truth came to me in the most unexpected way, from someone I never thought would speak up. It was a Thursday afternoon when Tyler, Tatiana's fiancé, showed up at my door. He was usually cheerful and polite, but that day, he looked like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "Miss Heather, can I talk to you?" he asked, glancing around nervously as if someone might be watching. "Of course. Come in," I said, leading him into the kitchen and pouring coffee for both of us. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted the cup, avoiding my eyes. It reminded me of Tatiana's nervousness when she came to talk. "Miss Heather, I don't know how to say this. Go ahead, son. At my age, I've heard it all." Tyler took a sip, as if bracing himself. "It's about the house. And Samuel and Olivia's plan." My heart tightened. "What plan?" "I shouldn't be here. If Samuel finds out I told you, he'll ruin things between Tatiana and me. But I can't stay quiet while they do this. Whatever it is, I need to know. He sighed heavily. Samuel doesn't just want you to give the house to Tatiana. He and Olivia are planning to put you in a nursing home after the wedding. I froze. What? I overheard them when they thought I wasn't home. Samuel said once they had the house, the next step was to make people believe you couldn't take care of yourself anymore. He said it'd be better for you to live somewhere with professional care, a nursing home, and not a place with dignity. My voice sounded like it came from someone else. Tyler nodded. Samuel said since you'd already given the house away, you wouldn't have the money to choose your own place, so you'd have no choice but to pay whatever they put you in. The world spun around me. Suddenly, everything made sense. The constant visits, the rearranging, the talk about my age and safety. They weren't preparing the house for Tatiana. They were preparing my exit. Does Tatiana know about this? I whispered. No, or at least I don't think she knows the full truth. Samuel told her a nursing home would be safer for you, but he didn't say they planned to do it against your will. And you, Tyler, what do you think? I think it's completely wrong. You're healthy, capable, and sharp. This is your home. No one has the right to decide for you. Then why is Tatiana going along with it? Because Samuel made her believe it's for your good. He told her that if something ever happened to you, it would be her fault for not convincing you to move. He's scaring her. And the house? I asked. He says giving it to Tatiana guarantees her future, that it keeps you close so they can visit often. But he didn't mention that you'd be in a nursing home where visits are limited. How do you know all this? Because I overheard them, Miss Heather. At first, I thought they were joking. But after the wedding, once Tatiana has the house, they'll start pressuring you to move. Then, once you're in the apartment, they'll create evidence to show you can't care for yourself. What kind of evidence? I'm not sure, but I heard Samuel talking about contacting social services, staging situations to prove you're a danger to yourself. I think they'll fake incidents like forgetting things or small accidents. I sat there in silence as every puzzle piece clicked into place. The key I'd given them, the unannounced visits, the changes around the house, they weren't acts of concern. They were steps in a plan to build a case against me. Why are you telling me this, Tyler? I asked. He met my eyes. Because I love Tatiana, he said softly, but I don't want our marriage to start with a lie. I can't live in a house taken this way. Have you told Tatiana? I tried, but she's convinced this is what's best for you. She believes Samuel is being a good son, looking out for his mother. When is all this supposed to happen? I asked. After the wedding. Samuel said once things calm down, once you see Tatiana happy in the house, you'll give in. That's when they'll start pushing you to move into the apartment. And if you refuse, they'll call social services. Tyler hesitated before continuing. Samuel's already looked into how to request a mental capacity evaluation for older adults and how to get legal guardianship over someone deemed unfit to make their own decisions. Guardianship? I nearly whispered. Yes, Tyler nodded. If they convince a judge that you can't take care of yourself, they can get legal authority over your life, where you live, how your assets are managed. Once they have that power, they can sell anything to cover your care expenses. Of course, by then the house will already be in Tatiana's name, so there'll be nothing left to protect. The whole picture became clear. They didn't just want my house, they wanted my freedom, my dignity, my right to choose my own life. They wanted to turn me into a burden to be managed, a cost to be reduced, a problem to be erased. I looked straight into Tyler's eyes. Do you think I belong in a nursing home? No, Miss Heather. Not at all. You're sharper and stronger than most people your age. And do you think Tatiana really wants to live in the house where her grandfather passed away? Honestly, no. I think she wants a fresh start, a place that belongs only to them. But Samuel convinced her this is the only way they can have a home. What if there was another way? I asked. What if I could help them buy their own house without taking mine? Tyler's eyes widened. That would be amazing, Miss Heather. But Samuel says housing prices are so high now we can't qualify for a loan. Leave that to me, I said. But I need your help. Anything, just tell me. Act as if this conversation never happened. Keep things normal with Samuel and Olivia. Don't let them know you told me. Why? Because I need time to plan my response. They have to believe their plan is working. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the start, fight back. Tyler left that afternoon promising to keep our secret. I sat alone in the kitchen, but I didn't feel alone. I felt clear, focused, and ready for battle. Samuel and Olivia had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated me. They thought 70 meant weak, confused, and out of options. They were about to learn how wrong they were. That night, I took out my notebook and began to write my plan. If they wanted a fight, they'd have one, but by my rules, not theirs. After all, you don't make it to 70 without learning how to survive. The next morning, I called Peter Bennett, my longtime lawyer and friend. We'd known each other since working at the same construction firm decades ago. Over the years, Peter had helped me handle every major legal matter from buying this house and writing my will to managing things after Mark's passing. "Heather, it's so good to hear your voice again," Peter said when he answered. "How have you been since Mark's funeral?" "Trying to keep going, Peter, but I need your help, something urgent." "Of course, tell me what's going on." "I need to see you today, but not at your office. Can we meet somewhere private?" He immediately caught the gravity in my voice. "All right, how about the cafe at the Blue Ridge Hotel? It's quiet there, no one will bother us." "Perfect, I'll be there at 2. I arrived 15 minutes early. The hotel was elegant but discreet, with quiet corners perfect for private conversations. Peter showed up right on time, carrying his old leather briefcase and wearing that same kind, slightly worried look he had perfected over 40 years of practicing law. "You look tense, Heather. What's going on?" I told him everything from Samuel pressuring me to give the house to Tatiana, to the uninvited visits, the rearranged furniture, and finally Tyler's revelation about their plan to put me in a nursing home. Peter listened carefully, occasionally jotting notes in a small notebook. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and let out a low whistle. "This is serious, Heather." "I know, that's why I came to you." "All right, first question. Have you signed any documents recently? Power of attorney? Changes to your will?" "No, never." "Good. Does Samuel have access to your bank accounts?" "No. But he has a key to the house. Then today we're changing your locks. Also, you'll need to open a new account at a different bank, one Samuel doesn't know about. If they try for guardianship, the first thing they'll do is dig into your finances. You need money they can't trace." "You really think they'd go that far?" "Based on what you've told me, I believe Samuel is following a step-by-step plan to gain control of your assets. And if they build enough so-called evidence that you can't care for yourself, the court might grant guardianship." "What kind of evidence?" "Medical reports, incident logs, statements from concerned relatives. Easier than you'd think, especially when the elder doesn't have legal counsel." "So, what do you suggest?" Peter smiled. "We'll give them a taste of their own medicine." "Meaning what?" "We'll document everything they do, create a legal record of manipulation and coercion. If this ever reaches court, you'll have the upper hand." For the next hour, Peter outlined the plan. First, install discreet home security. cameras in my own house to document any unauthorized entries. Second, keep detailed notes of every conversation with Samuel and Olivia, and, where legally permitted, record them. Third, get a full medical and psychological evaluation to prove I was completely competent. But Heather, Peter warned, you'll have to act like nothing's changed. They can't suspect a thing. I understand. Can you do that? Keep pretending to be the frail woman they think you are? Peter, I've been pretending to be weaker than I am for months. A little longer won't kill me. Good. Then we start tomorrow morning. On Saturday, Peter arrived with a technician. They installed small cameras in the living room, kitchen, and my office, nearly invisible but able to capture everything. This system connects to your phone, the technician explained. You can watch live, and all data will automatically back up to the cloud. Can Samuel detect them? I asked. Highly unlikely, unless he knows exactly what to look for. By Monday, I visited my family doctor, Dr. Raymond. I simply said I needed a health certificate for personal reasons. After a thorough examination, he said, Heather, you're in great shape. Your blood pressure's excellent, reflexes are sharp, memory's perfect. There's no medical reason you can't live independently for many years. Could you put that in writing? Of course. On Wednesday, I met Dr. Sarah Johnson, the psychologist Peter recommended. After 2 hours of tests and conversation, her conclusion was clear. Mrs. Rivas, you are completely lucid and fully competent. My memory, reasoning, and judgment were all well within normal range for my age. In fact, some scores were above average. Could you record those results? I asked. Certainly, she replied. I'll prepare a full report. Meanwhile, Samuel and Olivia kept up their regular visits, unaware that every word, every action, every attempt at manipulation was being recorded. The first truly valuable recording came on Thursday when Samuel arrived, looking unusually serious. Mom, we need to talk about your safety. My safety? I raised an eyebrow. Yes. Yesterday, Olivia noticed you left the stove on when you went out for a walk. That was a blatant lie. I had never forgotten to turn off the stove, and I hadn't even left the house that day. But I decided to play along. Really? I must not have noticed. See, that's exactly the kind of thing that can be dangerous. You're right. I'll be more careful. Maybe you should consider hiring someone to check in daily, a nurse. Perhaps. That's not necessary. Not necessarily a nurse. Maybe just a helper to make sure everything's in order. I don't think I need that. Mom, better safe than sorry, especially when you live alone in such a big house. The conversation went on for nearly half an hour. Samuel kept repeating the supposed stove incident, clearly trying to build a record that I needed supervision. That evening, Peter and I reviewed the footage. When it ended, we sat in silence. Heather, he said finally, they're fabricating evidence against you. I know. This could be considered abuse, financial manipulation, even fraud. Actually, this plays in our favor. With this proof, if they file for guardianship or take legal action, we can not only defend but press criminal charges. You'd really do that? They're trying to strip you of your freedom and dignity. This isn't just a family dispute, it's a calculated assault on your autonomy. So, how long do we wait before acting? Until after the wedding. Let them believe their plan is working. The more evidence we collect, the stronger our case. And Tatiana? From what you've told me, she's not involved. Once the truth comes out, she'll side with you. I hope so. Trust me, Heather. And one more thing, start keeping a journal. Write down the dates, times, words, actions, everything. It'll serve as additional evidence. That night, I began to write. The first line was short. Day 1 of taking my life back. Samuel and Olivia had no idea I was onto them. They didn't yet know who they were dealing with. The following days tested me like nothing before. I had to pretend to be frail while secretly documenting every act, every word, every manipulation. Each recording, each journal entry made me more determined. On Friday morning, Samuel arrived with his usual fake smile. "Mom, I have great news. I found the perfect apartment for you." "Apartment?" "Just 10 minutes from our place. It's beautiful, designed specifically for seniors. There's 24-hour emergency service, a shared dining room, and plenty of activities for residents." "Samuel, I've told you already, I'm not moving." "I know, Mom, but after the stove incident last week, Olivia and I are genuinely worried. Even Tatiana's worried." "Tatiana?" "She's the one who suggested we look for a safer place for you." Another lie. I knew from Tyler that Tatiana didn't know the details of their plan, but Samuel used her name to make me feel betrayed. "I'm not ready to move," I said softly. "You don't have to decide right now. Just come see it, no pressure." "Maybe I could take a look." "Perfect." This afternoon. The perfect apartment was exactly what I expected, a senior living facility where freedom was only an illusion. Each resident had a small private space, medical staff on call, fixed meal times, and an atmosphere heavy with quiet resignation, as if families had sent their elders there to be forgotten. "See, Mom? It's so safe here," Samuel said, showing me around. "You'll have 24-hour assistance and still your privacy." "But it's tiny," I remarked, looking at the model unit. "Perfect for one person. And look, a little kitchenette you can still cook, though the dining room meals are supposed to be great." "How much?" "Oh, Mom, think of it as an investment in your safety and happiness. We'll discuss finances later." I had already seen the brochure outrageously expensive, enough to drain my savings in just a few years, especially if Samuel controlled my accounts. "Samuel, I can't afford this." "Don't worry, Mom, the family will help. Once Tatiana's settled in the house, we'll cover the costs." That was the final confirmation Tyler had been right. First, they'd take the house. Then they'd move me into an overpriced facility, gaining full control of my money. "This is a lot to take in," I said, pretending to be confused. "I understand, Mom, but you'll be safe here. You'll have company, visitors, we'll all worry less." That night, Peter and I reviewed the entire recording. My phone had captured everything, even Samuel telling the facility manager that I was starting to show signs of confusion. "Heather, this is perfect evidence of financial coercion," Peter said. "They're building a false narrative to seize control." "So what's next?" "We wait. Let them think victory is near. Meanwhile, do one more thing." "What's that?" "Meet with a real estate appraiser, not to sell, but to get an official valuation. If this goes to court, we'll need a clear record of what they're trying to steal." On Monday, I quietly met with Jack Reynolds, a realtor Peter recommended. I simply told him I needed an appraisal for legal purposes. After carefully inspecting every room, he said, "Heather, your property's in excellent condition. Housing prices have gone up significantly in recent years. I'd estimate around $450,000. The number caught in my throat. It wasn't just the house's value, it was the worth of a lifetime of work, sacrifice, and careful planning between Mark and me. While Jack prepared the official report, I kept playing my role. Samuel visited more often, constantly trying to record evidence of my supposed memory decline, "Mom, yesterday you forgot to lock the front door," he said. I knew perfectly well I had locked every door. "Really? I don't remember. I came in this morning without a key. That's dangerous. I'll be more careful." "No, Mom, this isn't about being careful, it's just age. Memory slips happen. Totally normal." Each time, I recorded it all, filing every clip and note into my growing archive. Peter told me we were building not only a defense but grounds for a potential lawsuit against Samuel and Olivia for elder abuse. A week before the wedding, Samuel arrived with Olivia, holding a stack of papers. "Mom, we've thought about this carefully," he began, "and it's best to sign some documents before the wedding so you won't have to deal with legal matters later." "What documents?" "Mostly transferring the house to Tatiana and a financial power of attorney, so if something happens, we can handle things for you." "Power of attorney?" "Yes, just precautionary. If you get sick or something happens, we can make decisions without all the red tape. Remember our neighbor who had a stroke? His family couldn't access his accounts and nearly lost the house. You should sign this, it's safer." "Let me think about it." "There's nothing to think about, Mom. It's just formalizing what we've already discussed. The house goes to Tatiana, and you're protected." Olivia chimed in. "Heather, we just want to protect you. At your age, it's easy for people to take advantage." The irony almost made me laugh. Two people with no conscience were sitting in my living room, trying to convince me to sign away my rights. "Let me see the papers," I said calmly. "Of course, Mom. Take your time," Samuel said, though he kept pushing as I took the stack. "But it's best to sign before the wedding. Tatiana will be so happy knowing she has a real home to start her new life. She already knows about this." "She does?" I asked. "Of course. She's eager to get everything finalized." Another lie. According to Tyler, Tatiana didn't know anything about those papers. "I need more time to think," I repeated. "What's there to think about, Mom?" "We've talked about this for weeks. It's a big decision, Samuel, but it's the right one, Mom. Honestly, I don't understand why you still have doubts. It's not that I don't trust our family. Then what is it?" I stayed quiet, pretending to be uncertain. In my mind, I was already calculating. The wedding was only 1 week away. Peter had told me to wait until after the ceremony to act, but if I signed now, it might be too late. "Let's wait until after the wedding," I said softly. "I want Tatiana to enjoy her big day without being distracted by paperwork." Samuel glanced at Olivia, clearly frustrated but unwilling to push further. "Fine, Mom, but right after the wedding, we need to finalize this." "All right." That evening, after they left, I called Peter immediately and told him everything. "Heather, don't sign anything," he said firmly. "Those papers would strip you of your legal rights and reduce you to the status of a child. You'd lose control over your finances and your life." "I know." I told them I'd wait until after the wedding. "Good, because after the wedding, we'll give them a surprise they'll never forget." "What kind of surprise?" "The kind that reminds them Heather Rivas isn't as easy to fool as they think." Just 1 week left until the wedding, a week before everything reached its peak. In a week for me to prove that 70 years of living had taught me more than Samuel and Olivia could ever imagine. The countdown had begun. The wedding day arrived with clear skies and a soft breeze moving gently through the garden flowers at the reception hall. It should have been a day filled with joy, watching my granddaughter Tatiana walk down the aisle in the white gown she had chosen so carefully. But I knew that before the night ended, this would become the stage for the most important confrontation of my life. Peter and I had spent the entire week preparing. Every recording, every legal document, every piece of evidence was organized neatly, and I had stored a copy in a safe place. Most importantly, we had coordinated with Tyler to make sure he was ready to testify when the time came. The ceremony was beautiful. Tatiana glowed, and Tyler couldn't hide his happiness. For a moment, as I watched them exchange rings, I almost forgot about the storm that was about to come. But then I saw Samuel and Olivia sitting in the front row, their smug smiles revealing everything. To them, this wasn't just a celebration of love, it was the final step in their plan to take everything I had. During the cocktail hour, Samuel walked up to me with that fake half-smile. "Mom, after the reception, can we talk about the papers I brought by last week?" "It's Tatiana's wedding day, Samuel." "Exactly. It would be the perfect gift for her. Imagine how happy she'll be knowing the house is officially hers. Can't that wait until tomorrow?" "Mom, we've waited long enough. I brought the papers with me, it'll only take a few minutes. You brought legal documents to your daughter's wedding." Just in case the right moment came up, Mom. Right then, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Samuel was so desperate, he was willing to ruin his own daughter's wedding to get what he wanted. It was time to act. "All right, Samuel," I said, pretending to sound weak. "If it's that important to you, we can do it after dinner." "Great, Mom. I knew you'd understand." During dinner, I watched everyone from the head table. Tatiana and Tyler were glowing with happiness, completely unaware of the storm about to break. Samuel and Olivia looked satisfied, believing they had finally won. The guests laughed, drank, and chatted, none of them knowing they were about to witness something unforgettable. After the toasts, Samuel stood up and raised his voice. "Family and friends, before this wonderful evening ends, my mother has something very special to announce." I rose slowly, pretending to be frail just as Samuel expected. "That's right," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I have something important to say. My mother has decided to give our family home to Tatiana and Tyler as a wedding gift," Samuel declared proudly, his voice filled with triumph. The room gasped. Tatiana's eyes widened. She clearly had no idea. "Grandma, you don't have to—" "Wait, sweetheart, I raised my hand gently. "Let everyone hear the whole story first." Samuel's expression changed. This wasn't part of his plan. I spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "My son Samuel has been very concerned about my health lately. He visits my house often to make sure I'm okay. Mom, maybe this isn't the right time." "No, Samuel. I think everyone here should hear this." I took out my phone and connected it to the hall's sound system, just as Peter had taught me during our rehearsals. In fact, Samuel has been so concerned that he's been keeping track of my so-called mistakes, like leaving the stove on. I pressed play. Samuel's voice echoed through the hall, describing in detail an event that never happened. His face went pale. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Telling the truth, Samuel, something you seem to have forgotten." I played the next recording, the conversation between Samuel and Olivia about sending me to a nursing home after they took the house. The entire room fell silent. Tatiana stood up, her face pale. "Dad, is that true?" "Tatiana, let me explain." "You had your chance to explain." I cut him off, my voice stronger than ever. "Now it's my turn." I played the recording where Samuel discussed gaining legal guardianship over me, followed by the part about the expensive apartment meant to drain my savings. I walked toward him, meeting his eyes. "You fabricated stories, manipulated everyone, even used your own daughter to take your mother's home and freedom?" "Mom, you don't understand, it was for your own good." "For my good?" I pulled out a folder. "Here's my medical evaluation. Doctor Raymond, who's treated me for 20 years, certifies that I am completely healthy. Here's my psychological assessment proving I am fully competent. And here, I held up another paper, is the house appraisal $450,000, not $400,000 like you told Tatiana. Tatiana came closer, tears in her eyes. Grandma, I didn't know. Dad told me you agreed. I know, sweetheart. You did nothing wrong. Tyler stood then, his voice steady. I think it's time I speak, too. Samuel spun around, panic flashing across his face. Tyler, don't. Everyone deserves to know, Tyler said loudly. I was the one who told Heather about Samuel and Olivia's plan. I overheard them talking about using Tatiana to take the house and force her grandmother into a nursing home against her will. Lies. Samuel shouted, his voice desperate. Then explain, I said coldly. Why did you bring power of attorney papers to your daughter's wedding? Why did you sneak into my house to stage fake safety incidents? Samuel looked around, searching for support, but all he saw were disappointed faces. Dad. Tatiana's voice trembled. Did you really plan to throw Grandma out of her home? You don't. Understand she can't live alone anymore. It's dangerous. Enough. Tatiana's voice cut sharp and clear. I've heard enough lies for one night. She turned to me, tears streaming down her cheeks. Grandma, I'm so sorry. If I had known. You have nothing to apologize for. Yes, I do. I believed him. I pressured you to give up your house. I took her hand gently. You and Tyler deserve your own home, a place built on love and honesty, not deceit and greed. What do you mean? I said, then pulled out one last document. This is a check for $50,000. It's enough for you two to make a down payment on a house of your own, a place you choose yourselves, where you can start your life with dignity. Tatiana covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. Tyler wrapped his arms around her, both overcome with emotion. But there's one condition, I continued. This money comes with a lesson. Never let anyone, even family, manipulate or use you to hurt others. True love never asks you to sacrifice your integrity. Samuel made one last attempt, his voice breaking. Mom, this is ridiculous. That lawyer of yours is taking advantage of you. You can't just give away $50,000 like that. I turned to him with a calm smile. Samuel, I'm 70 years old, not 7. I managed my finances long before you were born, and unlike you, I understand the difference between generosity and manipulation. This isn't over, Samuel shouted. I'll sue. I'll prove you're not mentally competent. Go ahead, I said evenly. But let me warn you, I have recordings of every lie you told, proof of every act of manipulation, and medical documents confirming my full sanity. And I have a good lawyer ready to file charges against you for elder abuse and attempted fraud. Samuel's face turned ashen. Criminal charges, Samuel. It's your choice. Walk away now, and I'll treat this as a family matter. But if you continue, Peter will take it to court. I just wanted to help you. No, I said, feeling months of pain and humiliation rise inside me. You wanted to take from me, to control me, to erase me, as if I were a burden. Samuel suddenly grabbed a dessert plate and threw it at me. The crack of porcelain froze the room. The entire hall went silent. I calmly picked up a napkin, wiped my face, and looked him directly in the eye. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I said evenly, is the real Samuel Rivas when he doesn't get what he wants. In that instant, Samuel realized he had just destroyed himself in front of more than 200 people. The mask was gone. Mom, I'm sorry. Too late, Samuel. Leave now and don't contact me again until you learn how to treat the woman who gave you life with respect. Samuel and Olivia left in silence, humiliated and defeated. The rest of the evening carried a completely different tone. Everyone had witnessed everything, and every single person stood by me. Tatiana and Tyler hugged me tightly, tears streaming down their faces, promising to use the money wisely and never forget the lesson of that night. On the drive home, I felt light again. I was no longer a victim, I was a survivor who had won the hardest battle of her life. The days after the wedding felt like waking up from a long nightmare. The house that had once felt like a prison under Samuel and Olivia's watch was mine again, a home once more. The next morning, I changed every lock. I walked through each room without feeling watched or judged. By Monday, Peter came over to discuss the next legal steps. "Heather, the video of Samuel attacking you has gone viral," Peter said with a faint smile. "Someone recorded it on their phone and posted it. People are furious about what he did. I never meant to humiliate him like that." "You didn't. He did it to himself. You stood up for your dignity, and now the whole town knows exactly what kind of man he is." In the following days, I received countless calls and visits from old friends, all expressing their support. Neighbors who used to just wave now stopped to talk when I walked by. Even the butcher at the market gave me a discount, saying, "For the woman who taught this town a lesson in respect." But the visit that moved me the most came on Wednesday afternoon. Tatiana and Tyler arrived at my house looking both nervous and determined. "Grandma, can we talk to you?" "Of course. Come in, both of you." We sat down in the living room, the very place where Samuel had once tried to pressure me into signing the papers that would strip away my rights. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. "Grandma," Tatiana began, "we talked, and we can't accept your check." "Why not?" "Because that money came from pain we helped cause," Tyler said. "Even if we didn't know everything, we still helped them pressure you. You two were victims too, just like me." "Maybe," Tatiana said softly. "But we want to build our home with our own hands. And," Tyler added, "we don't want to start our marriage with money tied to our family's heartbreak." I looked at them, filled with pride. "So what do you plan to do?" "We want to work for you," Tatiana said. "You keep this house, and we can help with the garden, repairs, anything you need. You pay us fairly, and we'll save to buy our own home." "That's a lovely idea," I smiled, "but I have a better one." "What is it?" "I'll let you two work with me, but not here. I want to invest in real estate, buy old houses, renovate them, and sell them. You'll manage the projects, oversee the remodeling, and handle the sales. It will be your work, and I'll provide the starting capital." Their eyes lit up. "You're serious?" "Completely. I've thought about this for a long time but never met the right people. You'll start as junior partners, and over time, you'll buy out my share." Tatiana hugged me tightly. "Grandma, that's amazing. But there are a few conditions," I said with a warm smile. "First, everything must be done legally with clear, transparent contracts. Second, keep detailed records of every expense and income. Third, send me monthly progress reports. And finally, you must come over for dinner every Sunday and tell me everything." "That's the easiest condition in the world." Tatiana laughed, hugging me again. In the following weeks, we started house hunting. Peter handled all the paperwork to ensure everything was legitimate. Eventually, we bought a small house in a developing neighborhood promising high returns, but in need of a complete renovation. As for me, my life felt renewed. No more pressure, no more eyes watching my every move. I rediscovered simple joys: reading in the afternoons, planting new rose bushes beside Mark's old garden, Even enrolling in an art class at the community center, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for. The greatest freedom, however, was mental. I no longer had to pretend to be weak or confused. I no longer had to live in fear of being monitored. Now I could simply be myself again, healthy, sharp-minded, and with many good years ahead. A month after Tatiana's wedding, I received an unexpected call from Samuel. "Mom, can we talk?" "That depends, Samuel. About what?" "I want to apologize." "Truly? Apologize for what exactly?" "For everything. For treating you like you weren't in your right mind, for trying to take your house, for hitting you at the wedding, for forgetting who you are and who I am. You're the woman who worked double shifts so I could get an education, who taught me to drive, who cheered for me at every soccer game, who held my hand when Tatiana was born." There were tears in his voice, and for a moment I saw a glimpse of the son I once raised with so much love and hope. "Samuel, do you know what hurt me the most through all of this?" "What, Mom?" "It wasn't the lies or even your attempt to take my home. What broke me most was that you stopped seeing me as your mother. You only saw me as a burden to be gotten rid of. You're right. I don't know how to fix that. Start by remembering I'm an adult with my own choices. I've lived long enough to know what's best for me. I deserve respect, not to be treated like a child. Is there any chance we can rebuild our relationship? You'll always be my son, so there's always a chance. But this time things will happen on my terms, not yours." "What terms?" "Respect, honesty, and the understanding that my house is mine, my decisions are mine, and my life is mine." "I agree. And Samuel, one last thing, if you ever try to manipulate, control me again, there won't be a second chance." "Understand?" "I understand." Reconciliation between us came slowly. We began with short weekly phone calls, then occasional visits, and sometimes family dinners. But things never went back to the way they were. I was no longer the fragile mother who needed to be cared for. I was the head of the family, setting boundaries and expecting respect. Olivia took longer to accept that. When she finally came to apologize, I knew she was doing it because of public pressure, not true remorse. Still, I accepted it with a healthy distance. 6 months after the wedding, Tatiana and Tyler sold their first renovated house, earning a significant profit. They were beaming with pride, and I was just as proud. They had proven that success could be achieved through integrity and hard work. "Grandma," Tatiana said during Sunday dinner, "we don't even know how to thank you for trusting us. All I did was give you the chance to prove what was already inside you." "Not just that," Tyler added. "You taught us that we can succeed without sacrificing our integrity. You showed us that real family lifts each other up. It doesn't exploit one another." That evening, sitting in my favorite chair and looking at the family photos on the mantel, I realized I had won more than just a battle. I had regained my strength, my worth, and my right to live with dignity. Mark had been gone for more than a year, but for the first time since his passing, I felt like I could move forward without betraying his memory. I could be happy, love again, and keep growing. At 70, this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, written in my own voice and with my own pride. 2 years have passed since that fateful night. Now, as I sit in my study with a warm cup of coffee and sunlight streaming through the window, I can say that 70 wasn't the end of my life. It was the truest part of it. The house is still mine, of course. Every morning when I wake up, I feel grateful that I fought to keep it, not for the walls or the roof, but because it represents my right to choose where and how I live in my later years. Mark's rose bushes bloom brighter every spring, as if they carry the strength and love I poured into protecting them. Tatiana and Tyler have succeeded beyond anything we imagined. Their home renovation business has grown rapidly. They now manage 3 active projects and employ 2 full-time workers. More importantly, they've bought their own home, a beautiful 2-story house with a garden where they plan to raise their children. They earned it with their own effort and honesty, making it far more precious than any gift I could have given. "Grandma," Tatiana said at dinner last week, "sometimes I wonder if we had taken the house the way Dad wanted. How different would life be now? And what do you think?" "I think we would never have learned that. We're capable of doing things ourselves, and we would never have known how strong we really are." Tyler nodded. "You taught us that self-respect is worth more than any shortcut." "You're right," I smiled. "When I refused to be a victim of manipulation, I didn't just save myself. I taught you both the value of dignity." My relationship with Samuel has changed. It's no longer one of dependency, but mutual respect between 2 adults. Samuel no longer tries to control me, and I no longer allow anyone to treat me as weak. "Mom," he said during one visit, "I've started therapy." "I'm glad, Samuel. My therapist helped me understand why I did those things. Not to justify them, but to face them. And what did you realize? I was scared. Scared that something would happen to you and I wouldn't be able to save you. Scared of losing you and living with the guilt. I tried to control everything to hide that fear. Fear can make people do terrible things, Samuel. But real love means trusting the person you love enough to let them live their own life. I understand that now. And Mom, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. And I'm proud of you for having the courage to change." Olivia changed too, though more quietly. When she visits, she no longer rearranges things in my house or makes snide remarks about my age. We're polite now, and that's enough for me. Not every relationship needs to be deep. Sometimes respect is enough. But the biggest change has been within me. For months after Mark's death, I had withdrawn, living as though everything was over. Ironically, Samuel's manipulation forced me to wake up to remember who I was. At 72, I've discovered new passions. My painting class has become a true love. I turned Mark's old sewing room into a small art studio and have sold 3 paintings at a local gallery. I'm no famous artist, but they're mine, made with my hands and my heart. I also began to write not just this story, but a memoir about my life with Mark, my youth, and the years of raising Samuel. Tatiana thinks I should publish it, and Peter is helping me explore self-publishing options. Over the past 2 years, I've traveled more than I ever did before. I visited my sister in Seattle, then joined a Caribbean cruise for seniors, where I met Evelyn Harper, a 68-year-old widow who loves gardening and reading, just like me. Evelyn, not my daughter-in-law, but my new friend, brought a new light into my life. She doesn't replace Mark. No one ever could. But she's a companion who understands both the joys and challenges of growing older. We have dinner together twice a week, sometimes go to the theater, and she's been teaching me salsa, the dance Mark once wanted me to learn. "Heather," Evelyn asked as we walked along the beach last night, "do you ever regret fighting so fiercely?" "Never," I answered, without hesitation. Because I wasn't just fighting for my house or my money, I was fighting for the right to be seen as a whole person. I smiled when Evelyn said, "I'm glad you won that fight. But I know it wasn't just my victory." Every time someone refuses to be a victim, we all win. I've taught my grandchildren that they can stand up for themselves. I've taught my son that respect is a right, not a privilege. And I've learned that age is not an illness. It's a badge of wisdom, and I wear it proudly. The real estate investment business with Tatiana and Tyler was still doing well. Peter managed all the legal work, making sure everything stayed transparent and well documented. I had already recovered my initial investment and now received a steady monthly profit that, combined with my retirement income, allowed me to live comfortably. But what made me proudest wasn't the money, it was how much my grandchildren had grown. Tatiana had a sharp eye for spotting promising properties, while Tyler had become an expert in handling contractors and budgets. They were building something truly their own, something no one could ever take from them because they earned it through honesty and hard work. "Grandma," Tatiana said last week, "do you know what the best part is? It's that now, when I come to visit you, it's because I want to, not because I feel responsible for taking care of you. What we have is real, it's not built on guilt or obligation. That's the difference between love and manipulation." I looked at her, my heart full of love. "Sweetheart, I've thought a lot about the lessons these past few years have taught me. Lesson 1: age doesn't make us victims unless we allow it to. Society might try to convince older people that they've lost their autonomy, but that's only true if we believe it. Lesson 2: real family members are the ones who respect you, not control you. Love never demands submission, because when it does, it stops being love and becomes possession. And lesson 3, perhaps the most important one, it's never too late to stand up for yourself. For months, I endured being treated with disrespect because I thought silence was easier than confrontation. But temporary ease always costs lasting dignity, and that's a price no one should ever pay. Now, when I think of Mark, I no longer feel overwhelming sadness, but gratitude for the years we shared and pride that I protected the legacy he left behind. He would have been proud to see me defend our home, refusing to let anyone erase the memories it held. Sometimes, while tending the garden among his rose bushes, I whisper, "Mark, I hope you can see that I'm still the woman you once loved." Maybe slower, maybe older, but still strong enough to defend what's right. And when the wind stirs the flowers, I like to think it's his way of answering me. Yesterday, Peter stopped by to review some business papers, but we ended up talking about life instead. "Heather," he said, "do you know what I admire most about you?" "What's that?" "That you never let yourself become a bitter victim. You could have shut down emotionally, but instead, you chose growth over resentment. Resentment is a prison we build for ourselves. Peter, I chose freedom, and that's exactly what got you here," he said with a smile. Now, as I write these words, the sun is already high. Over time, Olivia's attitude softened in small, consistent ways, and we rebuilt a polite friendship. In a few hours, Olivia will come over for lunch, and then we'll stop by the garden center to pick out new flowers for the yard. Later this afternoon, I have my art class, and tonight Tatiana and Tyler will come for dinner to tell me about their latest renovation project. My schedule is full, my life is meaningful, and even though I don't know how many years lie ahead, the future feels bright with possibility. For anyone out there who's been through what I have, I just want to say this: never accept being treated as less. No matter your age or how weak others think you are, you always have the right to be respected, to make your own choices, and to live with dignity. Manipulation only survives in silence and shame. Speak up, ask for help, document everything, and remember, true love never asks you to surrender your independence. I've lived 72 years, and I can say with certainty, these past 2 have been the most complete because I finally learned to live on my own terms. This morning, as sunlight reflects through the window of the house I fought so hard to keep, I feel a deep peace, not the peace of surrender, but of someone who has fought and won. Last night, as the sun set over the bay, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea in my hands, Olivia beside me, and I realized something: it's never too late to start over, to reclaim your dignity, and to live life your own way. I'm not searching for a perfect life anymore. I just want a peaceful one, where every day has meaning. Looking back, I see that I didn't just reclaim my house, I reclaimed myself. The woman who was once afraid now stands tall, living exactly as she chooses. And what about you? If one day your own family betrayed you, would you stay silent or stand up for yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly want to hear your story. And if you believe that everyone deserves to live with respect and genuine love, stay with me. Together, we can listen, learn, and grow through more stories like this one. Because sometimes, just one story can change the way we see life forever.